Hello, everyone, and happy Monday. Welcome to the February Recreation Joint Advisory Committee, calling the meeting to order. First order of business is to vote on the minutes from last month. Who wants to make a motion to vote?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from last month. I make a motion that we approve the minutes for last month.
Who would like to second?
Second.
All right. Everybody raise your hand if you're in favor of the minutes from last month. I'm voting on Deborah's behalf with her proxy as well. Perfect. Enough? Approved? All right. Next, visitors. We have one visitor. Tom, would you like to address anything there or move on to the amenity reports?
If anybody wants to speak, you're welcome.
Nope.
If anybody wants to speak, they can come forward.
For 24 years, and I want to see what direction Bella Vista is going.
All righty. Well, welcome. Thanks for coming. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to the amenity reports, starting with Metfield. Robert.
All right, thank you, Kathleen. Fitness center was very busy the days I visited. The pavilion area was clean. It wasn't being used at the time. The playground all looked good, but it was being used at the time. The pickleball courts weren't being used, but also looked great. The pool area was closed, of course, for the season. Park restrooms this time around look fantastic. The areas I have for review: in the fitness center, the seat on the new step is cracking around the edges. I'm not sure that affects the function of the machine itself and whether that particular part is even available, but it is, and I've got pictures included. The elevated bike rack or bike track closest to the street in the bike park area has another board that's caving in and coming loose, and I've included pictures of that as well, and the picture depicts its general location. Easy to figure out. Member interactions: spoke with a family at the playground, and they mentioned how much they enjoyed the facilities. And that's all I have for now.
Thank you, Robert. I'll be covering Branchwood and Loch Lomond for Deborah today. Branchwood is packed, majority there for grade school age birthday party. Spoke to a member, Larry. He moved here a year ago, really talked a lot about how great the new rec center is. He goes every other day for weights. Impressed with all the amenities and what is available for what we pay. He does have a kayak and wanted to rent a space on Windsor, but they told him 18 months to a 2-year wait list. This may cross into the Lakes Department though, but that was some of his feedback. And then for Loch Lomond, only 5 cars, primarily walkers and dog park. Sadly, the new flag is torn. Wonder if there's something on the pole that might have caused it. And that was all that she had for Loch Lomond. Moving on to Blowing Springs, which is my amenity. Overall, the park looked great. As always, the grounds were manicured and cleaned. The trails were cleared. Areas for review: if you pass the front office and you're heading into the park, the limbs on the right side need to be trimmed back. I wasn't able to drive through without them hitting my car. So just a reminder, those kind of tend to creep out a little bit. And then member interactions, I chatted with Susan up the front. It was Sunday, it was cold, so there weren't a lot of people out, but she said everything's been great. She hasn't received any complaints or feedback, so all seems to be good in Blowing Springs. Looking forward to the weather getting nicer so we can start utilizing the gear garden again. And then you guys had mentioned setting a meeting for early this year, kind of to talk around 2024 planning for Blowing Springs. Has that happened yet, or is it planning on?
No, it hasn't happened yet, but we're open to setting a meeting. So we can talk about that. Do you want to after?
Perfect.
Set up?
Yep.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jessica. All right, moving on to Tyree Park and Granton with Brian.
So Tyree pretty much is the same as it has been for the last few months for the most part. Everything is picked up. Of course, they haven't really been working on the lawn so much because it is winter time. There has been 4 or 5 trees removed, and they actually had been removed last month when I did the amenities, and there still seems to be some leftover limbs piled up that still need to be hauled away yet. Other than that, the bathrooms, of course, are still locked, and there still is an outhouse in the parking lot. It is well stocked. The mud mitts are well stocked. It was unfortunate that, once again, we find that someone has decided to tear up the lawns with motor vehicles, cutting donuts, etc. It's kind of a shame to see that, but it has happened once again. Other than that, the only thing that I can mention with Tyree, and I know that this is a little above and beyond what we normally do, but it is something that I brought up in October of 22. The constant leaking that's going on in the pavilion roof. There is debris on the shingles that doesn't help. The shingles are just shot. And there again, I know it's a little bit beyond, but I happen to have a moisture meter with me because that's one of the things I carry around with me. I'll let you have that, John. And I took a measurement, and the one spot that I've been noticing over and over again is showing 89% water. That's 12% is normal lumber that you get in the lumber store. 89%, so I really, for the sake of the use of the park, I would like to see us do something about that pavilion before it's too late to do anything about it. Wanted to bring that up one more time. Moving on to Granton, everything is pretty much the same at Granton as well. Never really any trash issues, et cetera, et cetera. One thing, a couple of things that I did notice is one of the parking curbs had been struck and turned at 90 degrees in the parking lot, so that probably needs to be reset, and the rebar will need to be straightened back up for that. And there was a missing corner bumper on the east end of the east dock. I looked around, the water is surprisingly clear. I didn't see it laying in the bottom of the lake or anything, so I assume that it's just gone, and a new piece will have to be had. And speaking of kayak racks, yay for Tyree. All of the kayaks at Tyree had 24 stickers on them. It's outstanding. Granton had yet to catch up, and I did bring this up last month, and I'm going to bring it up again. There is a kayak at Granton. The last sticker that it shows, John, I'm going to let you have that, is 2018, and the main thing, I don't care that much that people get these registered, although they should. That is a kayak that is also not secure to the rack, and it's something that I'd like to bring up formally in the future, is to have a discussion about the need to include verbiage in our policies as they relate to physically securing these to the rack so that they don't get blown off during high wind, which can cause obviously damage to property and or damage to people who are nearby. It's not so much that they lock them, it's just that they secure them in some way so that they can't easily come off of those racks. That's pretty much all I have, Kathleen.
Thanks for that level of detail, Brian. All right, moving on to Lake Avalon, I'll be covering for JP. Overall, condition was excellent. The beach is closed for the season, so no activity when he visited last weekend. Thank you for the team for cleaning up the dog litter he called out last month. He did notice that the pavilion had lights on it. He attached some photos that he had not noticed before. It could just be the time of year, the ambient weather. He thought they looked great. He also noted that there were boats that looked like they were tied up for the winter in the area that would normally be roped off. Not sure if this is normal. He hasn't seen this before. Areas of review, none. Member interactions, none. All right, moving on to Kingsdale and BV Rec.
That's mine. I went up there Saturday.
I knew that. Turn on. It's moving.
Your order's ready.
Man.
I went over to Kingswood, that complex, on Saturday morning to play tennis. It was really cold. But despite it being cold, we had 28 men playing, taking up 7 courts, and the other court was taken up by somebody else. So it was actually full on Saturday morning on a kind of a lousy day, which is kind of, I guess it's kind of nice. I don't really have anything. Tennis courts seem to be in, good shape, other than, the cracking and stuff, which everybody knows about. And then I went over to walk around the pavilion and the mini golf and the playground and the rec center, all of which look really good to me. the pavilion post that I noted last time on the southeast corner that was rotting and I thought was kind of structural problem, that's been fixed, which is good. That got fixed. The only thing I noticed, I guess, in the rec center, and this, they used to have a cue rack on the pool table underneath that I thought was going to be attached to a wall, but maybe that was decided not to do
Richard,
that.
that's a drawer and it has been fastened at the bottom of the table.
Oh,
It's actually, and I've not seen it before, but it's a drawer that pulls out just as you saw it on the floor.
right.
And they have, that was just a matter of getting some screws in and they actually putting that up underneath there. I think if you look again, you'll see that the drawer's installed.
So the cues are just
Those were,
underneath
that
the
was the
table
drawer
in a
that you
drawer.
saw sitting
Oh,
on the floor.
I
And
thought that
they've
was a
since,
wall rack.
so did I. I made some inquiries and found out what was going on with that.
Okay, so that's been,
Good to go.
yeah, I didn't know whether maybe they decided to just go to the desk to ask for cues or what was gonna, the people that don't bring them, but yeah, that's good. And let's see, there really wasn't anything else at the rec center. I mean, I stopped in the arena. It's actually empty in the morning. There wasn't anybody in there. But there was a big party going on in one of the, party rooms, looked like a birthday party or something. And there was a lot of people in the fitness center, and everything looked great to me. The only other thing there was, with regard to the tennis passes, the annual tennis passes, if you get them at the member office, when you get your annual activity card, there's apparently some disconnect in the timing between when you bought the pass and the tennis desk, because they have different dates, I've noticed, and I don't know what the reason for that was. I mean, it used to be you bought your tennis pass at the tennis center, but now my understanding is, because we did it last year, we bought it when we go into the member relations and buy our activity cards. But when I went in, they said, well, your tennis pass is expired. I said, well, it doesn't expire till next week. And they said, well, no, it isn't the date that you got your activity card, it's the date that we have on our records. I said, well, I bought the tennis pass when I got the activity card. So, I mean, there's some kind of disconnect there. But I don't know what it would be, because their records at the tennis office don't match what your activity card says in terms of expiration date. And I'm not the only person that's happened to. There's been several other people I know that had that issue, but I'm not sure.
I'll look into that.
I'm not sure what the cause of it is, frankly. But they weren't on the same systems for a while. I think the tennis center and the member relations in terms of buying those annual passes, as opposed to like Branchwood or the fitness centers.
Yeah.
They were on the same system, so I don't know whether it was a system issue or what it was. But
Okay, yeah, let me talk to Jake, let me look at.
But that's all I got.
Thank you, Richard. All right, moving on to Keith with Lake Ann and London Park.
Okay, starting with Lake Ann, Dam Park and Boat Ramp Park. Overall condition for Dam Park, waterfall bridge, trail in great shape as always, covering the covered fishing dock and fish cleaning station, also fine shape. Trash cans were empty, portalets were all in good shape. The ramp area, park had minimal leaves, picnic and barbecue areas were fine. Ramp and fish cleaning station, great. Portalets, great. Only areas for review in the dam park, no, I was surprised there was no trash can in the waterfall area, even though there were no signs of trash in that area. I thought with the traffic they may get, or maybe I was thinking I've seen one there before, but I was surprised there was not one, and not unsure if that was a POA facility or because it's a part of a hiking trail there wouldn't be one.
It is a POA facility. We'll look into it. We try and be careful how many trash cans we have out in the community because we have so many acres and so many miles of trails. We try and be very careful not to overdo it.
Yeah.
And we encourage people to tote in and tote out.
Yeah.
But we'll look into it, but that is our area, absolutely, that's absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that it perhaps would be a nice picnic area. There's a couple nice sitting areas around the waterfall. But again, no sign of trash, so perhaps it's a non-issue. The boat ramp area, there were 3 canoes, 3 kayaks missing or had expired registration. I have pics if that's helpful. There was also like a 2x10, 2x12 board sitting on one of the small docks by the leased areas. I'm assuming those are property owners, the little wooden docks by
Say that
the
again?
Lake Ann ramp area. There are a couple of small docks there where people
Right
keep
next to
their
the
boats.
boat ramp?
Yeah, where people keep their boats, not attached to the ramp.
That's ours, John, that's ours, right?
I believe what that is, so in times past where there's mooring, that shoreline mooring, people have put impromptu docks out there and they have served that purpose for quite a while. So that's, I think that's just one of those impromptu docks that's been there for forever and somebody's just kind of kept up the repair on it, if I recall correctly, just based on what I'm seeing there.
Yeah, and there's just 2 of them. There happened to be a 2x12 sitting on it, a new 2x12. It could have floated. Someone was doing a good deed by pulling it up, but if it's not ours, it's essentially a non-issue. I had a really nice member interaction, a guy named Bill with his dog Watson, who walks there every morning. He's very impressed with how well the area is maintained. He did say the area serves as kind of a lover's lane and often finds byproducts of that interaction. I suggested that perhaps we could mention that there could be more frequent police patrol, and he said he actually sees police there all the time, so he didn't think that was an issue. One additional observation, at the dam park, there was one dock board showing some rot on the left side of the large fishing dock, and I attached a pic, and it's actually kind of pulling away a little bit, so it'll need some attention at some point. London Park, not much to say there. Great condition overall. Bathrooms are well maintained. Fish cleaning station's great. I left in here the area for review is that just as they start to refill Lake Windsor, will have to probably fill the area just below the ramp. There's a good washout there that, as you back your trailer, it could kind of drop into there. But I think we probably have months to attend to that. And that's it. No member interactions there.
I'd like to add something on that washout area you're talking about at the end of the ramp. That's a common, it'll be back within weeks. And that's because people tend to power load their boats.
Yeah.
And that creates a washout. So the more you put in there, the worse it gets.
Really?
Yeah, unfortunately. I've seen this happen. I've been there about 6-7 years, so.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Keith. Moving on to gun ranges with Matt. The gun ranges are currently closed. Tom will provide an update on this in our current business. So we'll move on to Tanyard Creek and the trails with Alan. Alan, welcome.
Hey. Hello, everybody. Alan Atkins. Thank you. I'll start off with Tanyard Creek. And I was there last Saturday, and it was cold and damp, and the parking lot was full. I mean, I couldn't even find a place to park. I had to park down the street. But anyway, I noticed right when you pull in, the signs on the road are dry rotted, and the paint's peeling. So I don't know if the whole structure would have to be replaced or what you would have to do with that. Also, the sign when you come into the parking lot is in the same shape. I might have put down a whole lot of stuff I shouldn't have put down. I'm used to working in the backcountry on epic trails, and we don't have facilities like this. I mean, there's nothing out there, but just a place where you park your car. So I might have put down too many things. Anyway, moving on. I noticed the parking lot needs restriping. Several of the cars were kind of jig-jagged around, People need that bright yellow thing to pull in the right way with the big trucks and all that. The restroom, I went in both sides. I had my wife go in the lady side, and they were both in excellent condition. I mean, super clean. The pavilion is really nice. It was just spick and span. It's ready for a party. Nobody was there, but it's really a nice place. The asphalt walkway from the restroom to the pavilion, there's a couple of small holes that could be patched that you could maybe trip on, maybe a safety issue. And also the asphalt walkway from the parking lot where you attach to the main trail is in pretty bad shape. It's starting to alligator, and with, you know, a lot of rain and stuff, it'll probably start chipping up. So, and the POA was out fluffing up the mulch. Looks really good around the little area there. Let's see. Oh, and the Dave Weimer, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, bridge, that first bridge that you come to, they reconstructed the plank on it. It looks really good. I think they said they were going to paint it at a later date. A lot of the interpretive signs that I think that are monitored by the trail volunteers, they've been replaced. They look really good. You can actually see them from a long ways off into the woods. It draws you to them. So that's a good thing. Trail to the waterfalls is in good shape. Walked over to the swinging bridge, and they've constructed some new steps up to the bridge, and they're wonderful because I'd walked on them in the past months, and it's kind of, the trail was getting a little bit slippery when it rollers from the different rocks and stuff like that, so that really makes it a lot safer going up to the bridge. No trash anywhere. I picked up one little candy wrapper, period. I walked the whole place. So that was neat. Member interactions. I ran into a lady with 2 young children from Washington State. And they had just moved here about 2 months ago, and they walked the trail all the time. And one thing she brought up, you know, when you go and do an interaction with these people, you start talking to them and you try to get them to open up. And some people will open up automatically, and others, you kind of got to draw it out of them. But she said she felt really safe. I said, "Where'd you walk?" She said, "I walked all over." I said, "You even walked the backside? Came down the swinging?" "Yeah, we walk it all the time. The kids love it." But one thing she said is, "We feel real safe." And I like that. You know, maybe where she was living in Washington, it wasn't too safe. Okay, that's all I've got for Pena Creek. Any questions?
Yeah, I can cover 2 things. So the signage, the gray signage, so that's kind of an ongoing issue. Some of the members of the committee that have been around for a while know that the city ordinance really makes it challenging to replace those signs. Those signs are 20, 30 years old,
Yeah.
and replacing them is a big challenge. The city is going through and doing some changes to their ordinances. It's probably going to take them another year to 2 years, and at that point, we're going to start looking at changing those signs because of setbacks and zoning and cost requirements on what's just not practical. We have 55 of those signs in the POA, so it's not a small problem. It's actually a bigger problem.
Yeah.
And the walkway, we can get some of those really bad areas. Rick fought hard for us to allocate some additional capital funds to that area, the walkway leading, but it just didn't make the cut.
Okay.
Because of budget constraints. So you're right on target on that.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to continue to do patchwork until we can get some good money to fix it right.
Yeah, it'll hold up for a while. It's just, you know, it's one of those things, you see it and you know that eventually what's gonna happen. I call it alligator, and I don't know what the term is, but anyway, okay, let's go to Blowing Springs. Am I supposed to report on that?
Just the trails and the greenway.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, what about the Greenway Trail, the concrete
Yeah.
trail? Okay,
Perfect.
that's what I've got.
Perfect.
Okay, we parked at the trailhead, and there's a little changing room there, and it was all in good shape and everything, and my wife and I, we got out and took off, and noticed right away, there's right across from, where the little camper cabins are. It looked like a straight line wind came through there, and I don't know if it was from the storm, the snow, the weight on the trees, because some mature cedar trees, I'm talking 35, 40-foot trees were knocked over.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Weird.
I have a photo I forgot to include in my report, but I noticed that too.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and anyway,
I'll add
they
that photo
had
in.
already cleaned it up off the trail, so it's not a hazard, but it's right there, and I'm sure they're coming back to get it. Let's see, and again, no trash anywhere. I mean, it's just clean as a whistle. It's lots of bikes. Let's see, the trail from the Gear Garden up to Houston Road still had quite a few limbs and stuff. I'm sure they're still going through there cleaning up from the snowstorm, the most recent. And from the north end at Houston Road all the way up to Metfield Park, I mean, there's nothing there. It's just everything's nice and clean. One thing I did notice, they're planting a lot of new trees along there. I don't know who's doing that. I mean, they're nice trees, big, nice trees. Well, the deer, the buck deer are rutting those trees. I saw several of them that almost all the bark's gone, up to about 4 feet. And I don't know if you can put some type of cover or like some type of protective cover, because those trees have got to be expensive. And if the bark gets if they get down in the cambium layer, it'll kill them. So I don't know if they need to look at that or who's in charge of that.
Yeah, those trees were a gift to the POA, the Walton Family Foundation.
Yeah.
And also, just so you're aware, the lower section of that trail, pretty much just a little bit past when it departs Blowing Springs, that's POA control. The upper section, the city maintains that section.
Okay.
So we do the lower section, they do the upper section.
All the way up to Metfield?
Yes.
Skills Park?
But not in Metfield Park. Metfield Park goes back to the POA.
Okay.
Just so you're aware.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, I had some good membership interactions, and one I'll tell you about, it was a couple that had moved here from Colorado, and they're bikers, but they're street bikers. They're not mountain bikers or whatever, but they just walk, they hike the Greenway Trail. And we discussed a lot of different things. One of them was safety. And I go to Dallas a lot, and there's a trail there called the Katy Trail. It runs out of downtown Dallas north, and my son lives real close to it, so I walk it a lot when I'm visiting. And it's a little bit wider than the Greenway Trail here, but everybody is very safe. Anybody on a bike that's coming around will let you know, I'm on your left. I mean, loud, where somebody like me can hear. And one thing I'm noticing in Bella Vista and some in Bentonville is a lot of people don't do that. I don't know if it's a cultural thing here. Some people do. I'd say it's like half and half. And I was talking to this couple, and I said, what do you think's going on? And they said, well, maybe it's the bike rental people. It's not the local people. It's maybe people that's renting the bikes from out of town, and it's not up to date on safety and the culture, of interacting with foot traffic and bike traffic. Anyway, that just pretty much, and I'll make it a point to go talk to the rental companies and find out. And I'll bring that back to you.
Thank you, Alan. That was great. Good job.
Okay.
Good first report. Glad to have
like
you.
I said, I worked backcountry trails that didn't have anything like that. And let me say this, Tanyard Creek is a gem. It is an absolute gem. And so is Blue Ridge Springs. And very, very, you guys ought to be super proud of those properties. Y'all done a great job.
I'm very lucky to have
So
you.
I'm excited about working there.
Good. I'm glad to have you.
Thank you.
You bet. All right, that concludes the amenity reports for this month. We're gonna move on to current business, and Tom has an update for us on the gun ranges.
So at the last rec committee meeting, I gave an update regarding the gun range, and so I had said at that meeting that I would give an update every month until we are able to reopen. Some of these slides are recycled from last month because they're still relevant. So key point here is that all the work that I'm talking about is preliminary. Some of the things may change, so don't get too hyper analytical on some of the designs that I'm going to show people because they could change as we get closer. I encourage everybody to watch last month's meeting. We talked for about a half an hour on it, and I think that's still important to understand. You can find that presentation on the POA's website, which is bellavistapoa.com. Our goal, we talked about this last time, was to make all reasonable improvements to the pistol and rifle range. Steps we've taken, so we've contracted with Wallace Design. They're a local civil engineering firm. They're working with us on Tanyard Creek also. Because of the need to move as reasonably quickly as possible on this project, we were working with known entities. We didn't want to go out and get delayed and everything. We know Wallace Design's work and we're very pleased with it. We've also contracted with Nielsen Architecture. They're working on it, and Nielsen is working with us on the Tanyard Creek project also and the Kingsdale remodel. So, and they are moving very quickly for us, which is really pleased with that. We're working with CLS, which is a survey company, because we need to get detailed surveys of the site. We need to know how high the mounds are, the berms are, I mean, the exact locations of different things. We've used CLS for a lot of projects, so they're, once again, a known entity. And something I shared at last month's meeting, we sent two of our staff members, John was one of them, to Conway, and it was very helpful for them to tour that range. They did a lot of work that we are very interested in mimicking, or at least something close to it. Key improvements that we're looking at, baffle system, and I have some photos that are coming up next, will be installed on the rifle and pistol range. Current thinking is 3 baffles on the rifle side and 1 or 2 baffles on the pistol side. There will be a ballistic roofs on the shooting ranges, which will slope down, and you'll see a picture of that, but it'll make sure that you can't shoot into blue sky. You won't see blue sky when you look at the range. When you're looking from the shooting location out, you won't see blue sky. The berm system, will be adding berms to the left and on the right side of the range, so if people shoot this way, it'll get knocked down, and that does happen. Rear berm and the center berm will be raised in height, and the current thinking is that they will be 16 feet high when we're done with them. This is an artist rendition. This is just of the rifle side. You'll see that we'll add a berm to the right side, which is on the upper portion of the image that you're looking at. We'll use a similar system, but you can see the 3 baffles located there. The shooting hut or the shooting house is really not accurate, but that's not what they were really working on. But this gives you a good idea of the location of the baffles and the berms that we would be installing. This is what you would see. In addition to having the sloping canopy, the ballistic roof, you'll see the 3 baffles in front of you, and you can see the berms to the right and to the left. Note the number of targets that we have is not accurate. That's not really an important feature. The important thing that we're trying to get across is the baffles. And what's interesting is when John and Heath went and viewed the baffles at this other target, you could see, especially on the first baffle, towards the bottom, you'd notice a lot of errant shots. They were very common. And then occasionally you'd see maybe 2 or 3 at the very top of the baffle, and clearly those are the ones that are exiting. If there wasn't a baffle, those are the ones that are exiting the range, and that's not good. Notice so here's a picture of the range that they went to, and notice how they have numbers all the way down, and so you can see, okay, I'm on lane 4, I'm shooting down lane 4. This helps prevent people from, if it's a 100-yard range, you can, I'm shooting, all of a sudden they're shooting at the wrong target. Also, you'll see that there are railroad ties at 25, 50, 75, and 100 yards. Those railroad ties will help knock down skip shots, ones that hit the ground and they skip, and when they skip, they can go all over the place. This will also make it very clearly defined. We'll have shooting or target locations right behind those railroad ties, so you know exactly how far you're shooting, as opposed to right now, you just kind of, I'm going to put my target halfway down the rifle ring. Well, exactly how far is it? So that helps you with your accuracy and so forth. You'll know, hey, I'm putting my targets at 25 yards. I got mine at 75 yards. You'll know that. So that's a nice improvement. Once again, we talked about last month is we're going safety and also quality of experience, and this would be a good example of quality of experience. Here is an artist rendition. Notice on the left-hand side, you'll see the sloped canopy, the ballistic roof, and our architects are helping us design that. NRA shows that you need a ballistic roof, but it just says ballistic roof. They don't tell you what that means. So we had to hire an architect to tell us a ballistic roof needs to include these things. And then the location of the baffles, and you can see the height of the berms, so forth. And what they've done is they've used imaging to make sure that you cannot see any blue sky. Here's what the baffles will be made out of. You'll see that it's basically you got a lot of 2x4, 4x4s, 2x6s, 2x12s, and then you put chat in the middle, and that by and large knocks down everything that goes through it, which is really good. No guarantee, but we're looking at adding additional shooting positions on the rifle side. Really can't add anything more on the pistol side. They already have, they're already set up. On the rifle side, we're going to add a prone or a laying down shooting position, but it will be a raised position so that you'll be at the bullet, you'll shoot at the same height as someone that's seated. Because once again, blue sky, if the person goes way down low, then they could get above, but you're going to actually have them higher And it'll potentially be a nicer shooting environment because you could kind of be on a deck as opposed to the ground. So we're going to have a dedicated prone position, and that'll help. And then we're going to add cameras to the gun range to make sure that we know what's going on there. Procedural changes. We're going to adopt a visual and sound system. So right now it maybe be like a speaker and maybe a flashing red light. And we'll have a range safety officer that will stop all shooting. Previously, it was an informal, everybody would, hey, we're shooting, we're going cold, going cold, going cold. And we heard a disturbing number of reports of, on the pistol side, for example, one person on the far end is setting up their target and a person on the other side kept on shooting because they were a really good shooter and they didn't feel it was a safety hazard. No. So the range safety officer will, hey, we're going cold, will sound an alarm or something that nature and make sure that there's no shooting, and if there's any shooting, hey, what are you doing? And if they continue to shoot, you need to leave. So we're going to take that up. And I always remind people, some people will come up to us and say, well, I'm an experienced gun enthusiast. There's no way I would do that. Outstanding. But there could be someone else that doesn't do it. We get inexperienced users at the range that need to be taught and instructed and so forth. All of our staff is going to go through the NRA safety officer training. We will have a safety officer there at all times, and we are going to require a safety orientation for first-time users of the range. So everybody will go through that because as of when we open up, everybody will be a first-time user to us. So even the most experienced people will have to go through a very brief safety orientation.
How's that going to be checked, Tom? Are they going to be issued some type of a card or something that states that they went through that training?
Well, hopefully we can do it electronically with our system. If not, we'll have some sort of way of tracking it to make sure that people don't have to do it twice, and that way we don't have to take anybody's word for it. Okay. If someone comes up and says, hey, I've already gone through it, we're going to make sure that that's accurate. So we haven't quite figured that part out. We'll get there. But we want to at least give a 5-minute safety orientation. When Alice and I went down to Ozark Sportsman, they gave both of us a 5-minute safety orientation. It was our first time there. It was reasonable, and it was made sure that we were safe. We'll need additional land, and Cooper has already agreed to sell us the land, but they don't want to sell any more than they need to. So we're working with the civil engineer on the berm height and the location. That means the footprint, the lower foot, the base footprint. But we need the survey done before we can figure out exactly how much additional space we need. If you go on GIS, GIS is fairly accurate, but it's not accurate. Not 100%. It's off, usually off by a little bit. So that's why we need the survey. And then once that gets going, then we'll go to Cooper and start the paperwork on acquiring the land. Partnerships, so I referenced Ozark Sportsman. They've been working with us. It is a drive. I'm very honest about it. It's great that we have a relationship with them and we're able to take care of our shooters, but it is a drive and I don't want to ever discount that. We had 106 users in the month of January, so that's good. Question I always get asked is, are we positive the bullet came from the range? To a certain extent, with the sheriff's deputy report, it really doesn't matter. They blamed us. That's it. Since we now know of a potential problem, it would be negligent upon the POA to not make reasonable improvements. Now that we know, and if we were to reopen without changes, because I get that question at least once a week from someone, say, well, come on, let's just reopen it anyways. No, we can't. And we were contacted by the family that is living downrange, and they found another bullet hole. It's an older one, so it hit the side of the house. So we now know that that home has been hit multiple times. So go back to the negligence issue that we just talked about. Once again, I don't know why, I said this before, I don't know why it took them so long to get a hold of us. Now that, you know, they've told us the house has been hit multiple times, but at least nobody was hurt, which is the thing we're most thankful for.
Are they looking for compensation of some sort?
We already did all the repairs. They were happy with that.
Good.
How much and when will it reopen? These are valid questions, very hard to answer questions, ones that we will not answer at this time. We are moving forward as efficiently as possible, but we just don't want to give any estimate because we know that people will really hold us to that date, and it's just impossible at this time. But we are moving forward as quickly as possible. So there is your first update. Any questions?
Well, I just have one, and it just has to do with the baffles and all the posts and all that. Are we sure there's no ricochet risk from hitting those?
They're working on two different things. Is you put it at a 45-degree angle, or you could potentially put wood on it. But at the end of the day, I'm going to let the architect and the civil engineer tell me how we're gonna build those. I think that's the other thing that I want to emphasize is we've received a lot of input from people, which is outstanding, but we've hired, trained, licensed, insured professionals to help us with this process. All right, thank you all.
Thanks, Tom. The Trailblazer monthly usage report hasn't quite come in yet to Jessica and team, so we're gonna skip over that one, which moves us into new business, which will be 2024 events request. First up is recreation.
Can I just do, so for those new to the committee, what we do is our amenities are for our membership. But each year the committee has decided to make some exceptions where we allow outside groups to come in and host events. Most of these events are kid-oriented or charitable, so forth. According to our governing documents, we must bring these events to the attention of the committee and receive approval from the committee before we can go forward. And the committee always asks us to do that at the very beginning of the year when really no events are occurring, so it allows us to set the calendar for the entire month. Okay? Entire year. Sorry.
Yes, so for recreation, nothing new, but 3 things. So our swim team, again, just a reminder, swim team happens before the pool opens. Last year, 76% of the 200 plus kids were members. We have a fantastic swim team, really awesome. A personal goal of mine this year, if approved, is really get the word out because I want the community to come see these swim meets. They're really awesome. So there is that one, and by nature of being a swim team, you need a broader competition, if you will. So to make it very competitive with the meets. The second one, I don't know if you want me to hit on all 3 of them right now and then we'll vote. Okay. The paddleboard camp, that happens at Lake Avalon before the lake opens. It was 80% members last year. By nature, well, the third-party contractor, we need a decent size to make it worthwhile for the third-party contractor. They do not use any of our equipment, so they have to bring several trailers for the camps. And then the last one is the kids triathlon. A lot of those kids are kids that are on our swim team and they're transitioning, getting older. That one will happen at the Kingsdale Pool actually this year if approved. And that is before hours as well.
And just to jump in on the Kingsdale triathlon, or the kids triathlon, we had that in one of our lakes last year, and there was some negative comments from property owners, so we moved it to the pool to eliminate that concern for this year. You need to, all three, please.
All right. Would someone like to motion for us to vote on swim team?
I'll make a motion that we approve the swim team for 2024.
Give it a second.
I'll second that.
Everybody raise your hand if you're in favor of swim team. Yes. All right. Moving on to paddleboard camp. Motion to vote for paddleboard camp.
I'll make a motion to vote that we approve paddleboard camp for 2024.
I'll second that.
Everybody voting for paddleboard camp? All right, approved. Next, kids triathlon. Somebody like to make a motion to vote? Brian?
I will make the motion to approve kids triathlon for 2024.
Robert, would you like
I'll
to
second that.
All right, raise your hand if you're in favor. All right, all three.
Could I just interrupt for just a second, Jessica? I just wanted to let you know, having witnessed the paddleboard camp at Avalon last year, those people, third party that is involved with that, I'm a kayaker, and I welcomed the challenge of kayaking amongst approximately 30 little savages on SU SUPs. But if I were a motorized boat, which is not really allowed in Avalon, but anyway, they were over in covering the ramp area. If they could maybe stay a little bit further north, if you could pass that on to them, just to keep that ramp area clear for boat traffic.
Sure.
Thank you.
Will do. Thank you, guys.
And just so you're aware, we go one at a time because the committee could be in support of one and not in support of another.
All right, moving on to gun range, trap and skeet.
So I can give you guys just a brief overview of these. Of the 7 events here, all of them are done on days when the range is normally closed. So what would normally be a maintenance day is generally when these events are held. Other than that, 5 of them are trap and skeet events. 2 of them are rifle pistol. So of course, rifle pistol is closed down right now, but I wrote everything in here as if we were still operating the same way as we did last year. So, yeah, I can read each event, but we've got some small descriptions here if anybody's interested, or if you've got specific questions about an event, I'd be happy to answer those.
Just out of curiosity, Poultry Festival, what is that?
It's when several of the larger companies, poultry companies, get together and they will get all their employees out and have a shoot.
All right, starting with the Cancer Challenge Trap Shoot Tournament. Motion to vote.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Cancer Challenge Trap Shoot Tournament for 2024 at our gun range, skeet range.
Second?
And I'll second that.
Raise your hand if you're in favor. All right. Moving on to the Youth ATA event.
I would also like to make a motion that we approve the Youth ATA event at our skeet area.
Second?
I'll second that.
Everybody raise your hand in favor. All right. ATA, Amateur Trap Shooting Association event.
And I would also like to make a motion to approve the ATA for 2024.
And I'll second that.
All in favor? All right. Youth Hunter Education Challenge.
And I will make a motion, although it may be moot, to approve the Youth Hunter Education Challenge for 2024.
And I will also second that.
All in favor? Okay. BV Police Department Weapons Qualification and Training.
And I will absolutely make a motion to approve the Bella Vista Police Department Weapons Qualification and Training for 2024.
Second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? All right. Poultry Festival.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2024 Poultry Festival.
Second.
I'll second that.
All in favor? All right. And the final one, corporate shoots, 1 to 4 events per year.
I'd like to put forth a motion to approve 2024 corporate shoots for our range.
And I'll second that.
All in favor? All right, all 7 approved. That concludes the new business. Director Hagan, anything that you would like to add from board liaison standpoint?
Just on behalf of, I'm sure all of the members of the board, we appreciate everybody who spends all the time looking at all our amenities and being the eyes and ears. It's really appreciated, and all of the JACs are really appreciated by the board. It makes a big difference for us to understand what's happening. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and that, now we are on the staff reports. Tom.
I think I've spoken enough for this meeting.
All right. John?
I don't have any notes from Rick. He couldn't be with us today, but I'll go over what I have for the gun range. January, as everybody probably could guess, was pretty slow for us due to inclement weather. We actually shut the water off to our facilities for several days to avoid frozen pipes, busted water meters like we've had in the past out there. So we did lose quite a few days of operation in January because of those things. But as Tom gave in his report, we did have 106 visitors to the Ozark Sportsman's Range over there. That is somewhere in the neighborhood of around 20% of a normal January for us, but given that we also had inclement weather, it probably was a really great turnout. So I'm kind of excited to see what February is going to bring. February has started out really well for us so far. We've got high school practices returning, and those tend to happen on early mornings on Saturdays, but they've started to return. So our Saturday mornings from here until probably April are going to be pretty busy. But that has allowed us to catch up on some maintenance of our machines and that sort of thing. So we're thankful for that. And that is all I have.
Thank you much. Jessica.
All right, a few things. We have the Spring Bazaar coming up at the Rec Center. That is Saturday, April 13th. So we invite a lot of local crafters, vendors, selling their handmade items. We've got open spots, so I encourage anybody who wants to put in an application. The easiest way to do it is just go to the POA website and in the search bar type in Spring Bazaar and it'll pull up the application. For the after hours at the BVRC at the Rec Center, we had it very busy last week. We are at 327 fobs sold. Yeah. We are monitoring, and we're averaging about 18 to 20. Of course, dependent on the weather, last night wasn't, but about 18 to 20, mainly from that 8 to 10 p.m. time to that early 4:30 a.m. to 6 a.m. time. Tennis, many of you may know Paul Posh. He was, for 30 years, he was the tennis pro. He still teaches lessons over at Kingsdale, but he was inducted into the Arkansas Tennis Hall of Fame, which is a super big deal. Very proud of him, and just congratulations from everyone. He has served this community for 30 years and still does. Jake, our tennis pro now, of course, gave the speech at the ceremony in Little Rock, and it's a pretty big deal. So there'll be something in the tennis center coming for him. But yeah, if anybody knows him or sees him around, I would just congratulate him because he's really served this community for a long time. He's very passionate. And Easter egg hunt, Saturday, March 30th. I'm so off this year. Easter comes early and the kids go to school past Memorial Day. I've never seen it. So Saturday, March 30th will be the Easter egg hunt, and there'll be more details coming out about that. Just a note, Marina opens for the season. We'll probably talk about it more next month, but on Tuesday, April 2nd, the Marina will open. We talked about this last month, but I just want to hit it again. Online, there's a new online fitness calendar that Chris from marketing did an awesome job on, and I encourage people to use it because we're trying to get away from handing out the calendars. But the great thing about this is that it doesn't even just show the classes, it also shows when I can play pickleball at the arena, when I can lap swim at Branchwood. So I encourage people to get on that. It's under fitness on the website, and it's got everything. It also will give you updates. Like, for instance, today we had a delayed opening at 10 a.m., so our classes, we didn't have those classes. And they could just see that there's a big banner right at the top. So just trying to get the word out for people to really use it, because it is very user-friendly. And that's it from Recreation.
Thanks, Jessica. All right, that concludes the staff reports. Any final comments before we wrap? All right, next month's meeting will be March 11th here in the boardroom. Thanks, everybody. See you next month.